the Great Thaw. That's what it might come down to, unless we stop it. And I think we need to have a conversation, and online influencers, media, whoever, the collective unconsciousness, politicians, not to allow Russia to slip into its strategy of loss, which is the Great Thaw. Typically what happens is, if they're about to face a loss, or they will face a loss, they'll go into about a 10-year hibernation mode, where people will start claiming, oh, we were always on the side of democracy. Oh, we were just repressed. And the floodgates are open eventually to sanctions relief, economic connections, connect the countries, relieve the countries, re-empower Russia. We're better now. We're different now. And like I've mentioned, anytime you hear somebody say, I'm better now, usually they're not better. You have an old boyfriend or girlfriend, you meet them, and they say, I'm better now. They're not better. Russia cannot be let to slip into its strategy, its master strategy of the Great Thaw. After the economic collapse, after the fall of Russia, after the destruction of despotism, phase one, the world is unified and rejoices that the world is going to become a better place. But Russia is just recalibrating, and they're going for the Great Thaw strategy. That option cannot be allowed. There are many other options which we have. Now, I'm not recommending through external forces. Let's just say peaceful referendum of democratic people, split the country up. We have the country of Ekaterinburg, the country of St. Petersburg, the country of Moscow, the country of the Caucasus Mountains, the Georgia region, Ekaterinburg region, the far Siberian region, the Arctic region. So many ways you could dream up to carve Russia up peacefully, because usually large countries, not always, there's exceptions, Canada, Australia, tend to be non-democratic. Think of the way the world is, China, Russia, and many small countries, because of the, culturally caring about the local and governance and civil action, whether it be Denmark, Netherlands, Iceland, etc., tend to be peaceful, democratic countries. The IEC in 2024 estimated that 45% of the world population lives under democracy, but 39% lives under despotism, authoritarianism. And then 15% are somewhere in between, a hybrid. I wonder how they qualify the U.S. right now. That's another story. I think it probably I'm sure it falls under democracy, but we can't let Russia slip. Russia needs to be uranium, obviously, the metaphor I'm using, the uranium tools need to be removed. It can have maybe, a referendum somehow and split up into many countries. Russia, in my opinion, we should have the conversation. Why should Russia exist? And it all should come from free, elected, internal reform, not external pressure. Another idea is external migration, free, open borders. Again, free people, not forced, because Russia needs multiculturalism to round it out. I don't care where the people come from. We're all equal. People could come from Africa, India, China. Russia's the largest country geographically, so why not have one of the largest populations? To change the culture of despotism, not to override, a people, not to do anything to a people or a race, not necessarily a culture, but eliminate this bad idea of power, concentration, and authority. And maybe multicultural, free immigration, the largest country on earth, why not have through voluntary immigration, open borders, no language requirements. I live in Poland. There's a language requirement, you have to speak this very difficult language. But Russia, they could jettison that language requirement like the United States of America does. And, in the spirit of free movement in labor and capital, don't they have a labor shortage they're crying about? And, you know, immobile capital, wouldn't that fix it? Because our ultimate objective is to stop Russia, remove the invaders from the free lands of Ukraine and other countries, and bring peace to all people on earth. I think it's kind of ironic St. Petersburg has the name of St. Peter, not Peter the Russian Tsar, the expansionist, but St. Peter, who, as the story goes, was crucified upside down because he wanted to be humble and he wasn't worthy to be crucified like Christ. So, wouldn't you think the people would give pause to the city they live in and what it represents? But instead, it has only represented Russian expansionism. It was taken from the Swedes, the Finnish, and Baltic people were eliminated or ejected, built with forced labor on swamps, and they say tens of thousands of people paid the price with their lives. And it's become a symbol of opulence and decadence, not the symbol of humility of St. Petersburg. So Russian culture has to reassess this, and I think we as a world population and influencers have to think, what is to become of Russia after its loss in Ukraine? And I'm fairly confident that Ukraine will win at this point and eject the invaders one way or the other. Economic collapse, geopolitical, turning upside down, the world turned upside down, as the song goes. Something will break, and certainly the front lines are breaking for Russia. The logistics are breaking, gasoline shortages, road closures, St. Petersburg on fire, Moscow on fire. It doesn't look like for Russia it's the end of the beginning. It looks like for Russia it's the beginning of the end. But the important conversation has to be, we as free people looking in from the outside, what can we do to help bring democracy, permanent democracy, to the region that, if I was a future traveler, I would say was once called Russia? Again, I'm not, as an external person, I'm not proclaiming that's what it should be or forcing anything. I'm asking the Russian people who have been heavily, and I'm sorry for that, propagandized. How can they reassess their life, their future, their culture, that they define themselves as, either linguistically or culture as Russian? I would say the best bet is Ekaterinburg, all the enclaves are, St. Petersburg, Moscow, all the places that they have these lands just be divided up through free referendum and maybe some guidance from the external. Obviously, the downside is there's a chance that these could be pirate states. Kaliningrad, certainly that could be a negative influence because the people, they would use that as a base in the Baltics. And I don't have the answers. I know that after the Second War in Europe, 1945, there was an idea to do something like that to Germany, but it didn't come to fruition, and thankfully so. So I don't have all the wisdom, but I do think we have to take seriously not just ejecting the Russians, the invaders, from the free people in the great country of Ukraine, but what comes on day two? That's almost as serious as the question, because this is coming around the corner. The Russian economic collapse, the Russian geopolitical collapse, the world turned upside down. It will happen so fast the Russians won't even be aware of what's happening. And we don't want opportunists, despots, to take charge. And if the world and the politicians and the leaders are not vigilant, if they don't have the strength and the courage of the convictions to be vigilant, and decisive in making sure that Russia doesn't fall into the great thaw and start begging for sanctions relief and warming economically to bail them out, when in contrast, they really should be paying reparations, if you ask me. Who's going to build? Every time I see something going off in Ukraine, who's going to rebuild that person's house? Who's going to be rebuilding or demining that person's field? All these farmers or these playgrounds, who's going to be repairing all the damage that's been done? And it can't be just, oh, we are just little people. I think if I was a future traveler, I would say, what was that country called? That despotic country of 500 years of expansionism? Was it Russia or something? I think that's, my personal subjective opinion. I think that's the way it should be. Oh, by the way, this is not water hemlock. I don't want to test it just in case. This is probably something called bishop's weed. It's a beautiful flower here. Have a beautiful day. My name is Mark Biernat. I'm a monetary economist. Have a great day. Thank you very much.